Whether you are on an adventure or at the downtown cafe, your answers are no more than a sniff away. Dog Training 360's purpose is simple: to teach you why dogs do what they do, as well as the action steps you need to take to have better communication, connection, consistency, and conceivability with your dog. On today's podcast, we're going to talk about the life with our dogs, and I think that it's something that people always get curious about. You know, they hear little snippets and stories about our dogs and what we're doing, but they don't, people ask all the time, like, what is life like at your house with your dogs? Mm-hmm. And it's kind of a funny question because, it's not something that you think about all the time because it's just something that has always been. Like, sure, you just get used to having them around.
You don't know how your life is like.
Yeah,
would be if you were somebody else.
Right. So, Shannon, I'm going to ask you questions about your life with your dogs.
Oh,
yeah. As Louie comes zipping through the cord, and then you can ask me, and I think that would probably be a good maybe create some triggers of I don't know, what does that look like?
Okay.
Overall. So Shannon, introduce your crew.
So I have 3 dogs. I have Louie, the Frenchie. He's my oldest dog. He's about 6 years old. And I've had him since he was born.
Yeah.
And then I have Ripley. She's a Shih Tzu mix. And she's about 2 years old, and I've had her, she's probably about 3 because I've had her for 2 years. And then my dog Dutch is an Australian Kelpie, and I got her 6 months after I got Ripley.
Yeah.
Fast. Yeah, so I got those 2 dogs really close together. So, yeah.
Yeah. So what are some of the little nuances that, let's just take a day in the life of, you get up in the morning, what is there, what happens in the morning?
I get up in the morning, and right now Ripley and Dutch are still kenneled at night because we're still training not to tear the house apart at night.
Right.
So I get up in the morning and I let them out to go outside, and then I have to go back in the bedroom and try and wake up Louie because he sleeps in the bed, and he's all cuddled in, and he's like, no, I'm not going outside.
Yeah.
Sorry, So then sometimes he'll decide to go out and sometimes he won't. So while they're outside for a minute, then I get all their food ready, and then I let them back in and I feed them, and then usually Louie will eat, and then he wants to
He's
go
ready
outside.
to go out. Yeah.
He needs his alone outside time, I guess, in the morning.
Yeah.
So, and then our schedule just depends kind of what I have going on. If I'm working, going to walk dogs, I'll leave them in for their kennel time and go and walk dogs or go pick them up and then come home and let them out after.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be home, I'll let them out again right away, and they can be out in the day. So we kind of they have kennel time sometime during the day, but it just kind of depends what the schedule is, whether that's in the morning or in the afternoon.
Right.
And then we kind of just rotate whether we're sleeping, I have dog beds all over my house.
Yeah.
Because I just find it easier that if they feel like they belong in the room, like they have a space for them, then it's easier for them to stick with me.
Yeah.
And so, so they'll come in with me while I'm working on the computer and be on the dog bed, or go outside, and that's kind of our day.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's a word or a sentence that would describe your households, what would that be? With the 3 different personalities.
I mean, I think my household really overall is quiet. Even because I'll have friends come over, or if I watch other people's dogs, or even when I have dogs here that I'm watching.
Yeah.
When people come in and out and ring the doorbell, and my dogs are just all quiet.
Yeah.
I can have service people will come and be working on my house, and I'll say, oh, and my dog, and they're like, what dog?
Yeah.
And I have 3 dogs here, and they're so quiet that people don't really know that they're here at all.
Right.
You know,
right,
we're kind of like, I don't want to say we're totally a couch potato house because Dutch is a very active dog.
Yeah.
She's not really couch potato-y, but we have this schedule where, you know, this is our time that we sleep while Shannon's working.
Yeah.
And so we really have these times where we're really committed to either playing really hard or resting really hard.
Yeah.
And so it makes my house be quiet.
Yeah. What do you feel like Mike's role in the house is?
Oh, Mike is the fun.
Yeah.
Everybody waits for Mike to come home. Dogs really have a good sense of like time of day. Like if you have a routine, the time doesn't matter.
Right.
But if you have a time of day thing, the dog knows what time of day it is.
Right.
And they are ready for that time. So, and that time at our house is the time that Mike comes home for work.
Yeah.
So he gets off work at 4:30 and then he has to drive home. And at 4, all the dogs, we have a rug in front of our front door. All the dogs will be laying on the front rug waiting for Mike to come home.
Yeah.
You know, and to sit on the couch more with Mike.
Yeah.
You know,
for sure.
But you know, Mike's really fun. He trains them tricks. They do tricks together every day. And usually it's the same tricks over and over. Yeah. But they have their, you know, time that they do tricks with Mike. And, time that they sit with Mike. And where I'm just like, my schedule's so random. I'm just like, we're doing this now. We're doing this now. Yeah. Where his things are more like, we do this every day. Kind of regular routine.
Yep. What, if you had to describe in one word each of the dogs and their personalities, what would that be?
Oh, my Louis is definitely the couch potato. He likes to go to do things for a very limited amount of time. An hour is usually like, so he'll go to someone's house for an hour. Yeah. He'd like to go for a walk for an hour. Yeah. He, you know, and then he's like, I've exercised for the day. Right. Now it's time to go home. Yep. Like he's really into like cuddling in the bed and being all snuggly in the blankets. Yeah. He loves blankets and he carries them all over the house and makes a nest for himself. He doesn't need a dog bed because he just carries his blanket wherever. And even when we're podcasting, like he'll just be dragging all the blankets in to make like this big nest to sleep in while we podcast. So he's my couch potato. And Ripley's my sassy girl. She's really she's good at sticking up for herself because she's the smallest out of the 3. And so she's ready to tell you if you're too much. Yeah. But she really loves to play. She plays really dirty. Like if they're wrestling, she'll bite the dog's toes. Yeah. Like she is into digging holes. If Mike's working in the yard, she is there in the dirt. Yeah. Digging the hole. Doing the sprinklers, whatever. She's really, really into like dirt, I'd say. Yeah. And then Dutch is really just sweet. She is funny because I've had her for 2 years and she's just started out as so timid. Yeah. And I feel like she's just coming in to her personality of funness, I guess, and excitement and adventure. Yeah. You know, she's definitely not started out as the most adventurous dog, but I think she will end up to be the most adventurous dog. Yeah. So right now she's just this sweet, like, come and sit by you and put her head on you or, you know, want to come and sit with you. But then if you move, then she's like, no, I didn't really want to sit. You know, but she's just starting to get into her goofiness kind of, whereas the other dogs are just like goofy from the first day. So
she's funny. What is the best way for you to describe like how to live with a dog?
I think for me, the way that is easy for me that I like to do it is that the dog really wants to be with you. They want to do whatever you think that you should be doing. Yeah. So you have to figure out something for them to do if you don't want them doing exactly what you're doing. Right. Like it's okay, like when Ripley goes out and digs a hole with Mike. Like we don't do that every day. Right. But if he had a job and the whole job was digging holes, then we might say, when it's time to dig a hole, you have to sit on the back of the truck.
Yeah. Right.
You know, and then they're like, oh, yes, when we're digging holes, we sit on the back of the truck.
Right.
And you just have to figure that out for every part of your life.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you want them to do the same thing as you, and sometimes you don't.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just have to figure that out for your life. So like if you are working from home and you are building websites, which I frequently do, then the job that the dog is doing is sleeping on the bed in the office.
Right.
And then after we do that, then maybe we go for a walk or something. So I think the dog is really likes rules of what you're supposed to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever that is doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as they know what it is. Because they really have satisfaction in like knowing what they're supposed to be doing and doing it.
Yep.
Like they really have comfort in that.
Yeah.
They really are happy and have joy to do what they're supposed to be doing.
Right.
You know.
Yep.
And so you just have to let them know.
Yeah.
What they're supposed to be doing.
Right. Right. Yeah. I like that. You're not always giving constant direction as far as commanding goes, but one thing that was really fascinating, here is that we usually aren't in the living room podcasting.
We are today.
Yeah,
but we're not usually.
And that's because routines have changed, and Mike is working from home, and my house is full of people, and so it was funny because the dogs were like, "Oh, you're sitting on the couch," and they created this thing. It was very fascinating and funny, and then kind of when like the gears shifted and we kind of got into a little bit more of a work mode, Louis went and stole and got his blanket and drug his blanket. This is what he's going to do. And everybody else just checked out. And it's really part of just, you can tell that you didn't have to say anything to them.
No.
It was just, they start understanding those routines because you've reinforced it so much.
Yeah. When you start out, you have to tell them. Like you might have to back tie your dog.
Right.
Or you might have to, like the way my office is, my back is to the door.
Mm-hmm.
And the dog beds are behind me just because of the way that it is. And so when I started training, like I couldn't be really engrossed in work because I had to pay attention to what was going on behind me. Yeah. So I could say, no, go back to your bed. No, go back to your bed. Right. So you can't just start out like, you have to be able to pay attention.
Yeah, commit to that.
Yeah, and once you, you have to tell them what to do for a while, and then after a little while, they're like, oh, no, this is what we're supposed to do. Yeah. You've told me so many times.
Right.
Like, that I understand what it is.
Yep. Yeah. I think one thing that, just practicing is not, dictating and controlling the dogs as much as, like, you get into a rhythm and it just feels right, and it feels right to them, and you can definitely tell that. Is it hard? Is it frustrating? Is there anything that's hard or frustrating living with your 3 dogs?
Ripley is an underwear stealer. And so if like she's just with me right here now,
Yeah.
But every once in a while she gets in a little, like she'll sneak away.
Yeah.
And go and steal the underwear. And so you're like, when she first started living here, I was kind of watching for that because she has a history of being naughty about that, right?
Yep.
And she hasn't had a huge problem.
Yeah.
But every once in a while, she'll steal one. And that's the every once in a while.
Yeah.
Because it'll go for a long, long time.
Right.
Months.
Right.
And she doesn't do anything with the underwear. She just takes it out of the laundry basket and leaves it all over the floor.
Right.
Like it's not destroyed or anything. But I just don't want underwear all over my floor because like people come over and then you're like, oh, hi, I just have underwear all over my floor. It's just how we do here, you know? Yeah. And so for her, that's her frustrating thing.
Yeah.
For Louis, he has some weird resource guarding things.
Yeah.
And so I have to be careful with him about resource guarding,
right?
Especially when other people are over.
Yeah.
Dutch has a little bit destructiveness, not as much as Ripley, but when the two of them are together, then it's like a tag
They're
team
having this
of
conversation.
Things. Yeah. So like, for example, Ripley and Louis put really high value on toys, and they won't rip them all up.
Yeah.
Dutch will rip them up, and then Ripley will eat them.
Right. Yeah.
Or Ripley will like start like unrolling toilet paper around the house, and
Yeah.
then Dutch is like, woo, you know,
Right.
and then there's toilet paper everywhere.
Yeah.
Which these things don't happen very often, but
Yeah.
they do every once in a while.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just, every dogs have weird personality.
Yeah.
Every dog I've ever had does something naughty.
Yep.
Like my dog Boston, he liked to eat things that were wood. And so anything, like I had
Yeah.
a pin cushion that had like sawdust in
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
He ate one time, book, a pencil, and it was just like he ate like 5 things his whole life, and
Yeah.
he lived to be like 16 years old, right?
Right.
But it was just like things that were made of wood. So every single dog, I think, has
Yeah.
a weird naughty thing that
Yep.
you just like manage their whole life.
Right. Yeah.
Just like
for sure.
their thing.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That's funny. I find that your house it is very quiet and it's calm, and no, it's really quite uneventful. You know, as far as when I come in,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I
They're
don't.
less like, oh, hi.
Yeah, they're like,
You're
oh,
you
yeah,
again."
welcome. You know, it's not. Oh my gosh, we've never seen you. It's.
Yeah.
I just got Ripley all excited and Dutch.
Yeah.
It is more about that friends come in and we welcome friends into
Mhm.
our home in a very polite and kind way.
Mm-hmm.
And your house is a lot like mine, where we just come in.
Mhm.
If you
Yeah.
if you know us, and you know,
Yeah.
we obviously, you're not just going to randomly show up, but we
Like our doors
are
open and people just come. Yeah.
Yeah, and our home is very open to our close friends of, you know, coming in. So
Mm-hmm.
it's not this overexcitement.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really kind. It's nobody's yelling, nobody's getting mad at the dogs.
Mhm.
If they make a mistake, they just get put in their crates.
Mhm.
It's not a conversation about it. It's
Mhm.
just like, oh, whoops. And so I think it's important to really kind of create a vision or a picture of like, what is that word that describes your house and your home, and try and kind of stick to that.
Mm-hmm.
Stick to it, because I feel like that's what creates these rhythms with our dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think you want to have goals, right?
Mhm.
And like my goals are, I just really want my dogs to be happy
Yeah.
and feel like they belong here,
Yep.
and that we're like a part of a family.
Yeah.
And what do you do? What kind of things do you do with your family? You know,
Right,
and that's
right,
like kind
yeah.
of like how I made up like those things. What do you do when I do this? What do you do when
Mhm,
I do this?
mhm.
Is how can you be involved in our family
Right.
and not, you know, have to be out in the yard all the
Yeah.
time or
Yeah.
whatever, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I think if you think about yourself and kind of like what your goal, how you want your dog to feel in your
Yeah.
home,
Yep.
you know, then
Yeah.
that will help dictate how you figure out what those things are.
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like it for sure. Yeah. I think that sums up. That's great.
Now your turn.
My turn. My crew.
Tell us about your dogs.
Well, we have 3. We have Miss Patsy Klein, the Border Collie, and she is a year and a half. And then we have Caroline, who is just turned a year, and she is a Spinoni. And then we have Amelia, who in June will be a year.
Mm-hmm.
And Amelia's Earhart is her full name.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Border Collie as well. It's a young crew.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't had this young of a crew
All
back to
together.
back all together.
Yeah, because you got all of them
Yeah.
just all
Yeah,
as
pretty
puppies,
fast.
all right
Yeah.
in a row.
Yeah. And I think that, you know, as we talk about, you know, my dogs and their personality, Patsy is really she's the best friend.
Mm-hmm.
She's not overly needy.
Mm-hmm.
She's kind of the watcher of everybody, of what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
She's got some really funny jobs at the house. And she tries to act really important.
Uh-huh.
She's really important. And she takes things pretty seriously,
Mm-hmm.
as long as they're her jobs.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, it's kind of fun and games, but she's important.
I see.
She's
She's
important.
more serious.
In a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we have Caroline, who Caroline has the least amount of training. Caroline goes with the flow.
Mm-hmm.
Life is always on the edge with her.
Mm-hmm.
Meaning yesterday, she decided she was going to go into the living room at a weird time. It was kind of an off day yesterday. And Sydney, our oldest, has been in from spring break.
Mm-hmm.
And the air mattress has been blown up in the living room
Mm-hmm.
for
the whole
several
time
days,
she's been
whole
here.
time.
Yeah.
Caroline has seen it many times. But yesterday it was really scary.
Oh.
And to the point it made her pee. Then she jumped up in Chris's lap in the chair. So we never know
What's going on.
what is really what's really going to happen in Caroline's life, or in ours for that matter with her. Some days it's about laying in the sun.
Mm-hmm.
Some days it's about playing chase and getting the zoomies.
Mm-hmm.
She's definitely a hoarder of things, and it's not just like they have to go into her crate, and she has like the biggest crate, so there's plenty of room for stuff.
Stockpiling.
Yes, blankets. If she can grab a towel on the way through, sometimes a shoe ends up in her crate. All of the outside toys will eventually end up in her crate because she's got such a big mouth that you don't really see what she's bringing in.
Her beard hides it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then she just has an attitude about her own journey. You know, she's not really on a journey with us. We're on her journey. And she's got an attitude about everything. She's got an opinion about things of whether she's going to do it or not. It's funny because, you know, when people are, you know, expect a dog trainer's dog to be trained. Caroline walks nice on a leash for the most part. And that's about all Caroline knows how to do. She can be back tied and be quiet. But sit and down is not really in her vocabulary. She can load up in the truck when on her terms. You know, I mean, we can force her up, which we have to do sometimes because she's like, yeah, no, I'm not going to get in right now. Like, no, we're going. You have to get in. But she wants to go.
Yeah. But just not get in.
Right. And then there's little Amelia that is still trying to figure out life a little bit. She's an adrenaline junkie. She definitely has the hardest herding drive of between the two. She lives for the adrenaline of it. And so we're just trying to control that right now in working on just a lot of impulse control. Because she has she loves the adrenaline of the bite and the chase. And yesterday she's been going up to the horse barn with me since I got her. So several months. I mean, 6 months-ish about. And she's been tied up. She's been loaded up. Very controlled, working on her long line in the downs as we're walking through the horses. And so yesterday she rode out on the four-wheeler. We're doing fencing, and she rode out on the four-wheeler with us. And I thought she's probably just going to be good out here. You know, the goats we've got moved on to a different pasture, and the sheep. So it's just the horses, and they were all contained while we were doing fencing. And so I thought I could probably let her out here in the pasture. And you know, I'll be darned if she just didn't head out to the horses. And I'm lucky that my horses are very calm around the dogs, and they don't care what the dogs are doing. And so they don't get fast. Like the dogs don't make the horses go fast. And so, she was up there stalking the horses, ready for anybody to make a move. And I know she would have gone in and bit, because that is
what she
is.
loves. Yeah.
And so for her right now, it's pretty limited in life because she just needs to mature and not have those adrenaline pieces because she thrives in it. And she's going to find every way to be in it if she can. So right now, like today, I didn't take her up to the barn. You know, she stayed home. So we've just been kind of doing more snuggling. She's definitely the snuggler and the hugger of the crew. And she loves to be held. Like she loves to be picked up and just hugged.
That's funny.
So it's a little bit of a eclectic, random stuff going on at the house right now. And I feel like it's just a journey right now. We don't have a rhythm. Of course, we have routines and expectations and rules, but we really don't have a rhythm of living together. They're all
because everyone's so new and figuring each other out, figuring out who they are. And you have all working dogs. You have working dogs a lot, though. Like a majority of your dogs are usually working. So how is it different finding those routines with dogs that are working dogs? You know, as opposed to like Louie's not a working dog at all.
You definitely have to be on your toes a bit more. And you have to be very, very black and white. And sometimes that's hard because we're not always black and white. And then that's when they get into trouble. And so when we're when they're in the house and hanging out, it's not really hanging out.
They're working. They have a job.
And so Patsy's looking and searching for the cat. Amelia's trying to Amelia right now is in a stage of stealing all of Caroline's stuff. And Caroline's working on gathering. And so it kind of happens in the house a lot like that, where their house time is it's not a lot right now as far as hanging out. If they're in the house, they're on a leash, they're put on their spot. It's really fairly controlled right now, except for Caroline. But with the two border collies, their house time it's a really hard time right now. They're adolescents, and they have not figured out a rhythm yet with us. So with the working dogs, their brain right now is really trying to figure out genetically
what's their job.
And
they question you a lot. Like you're
everything.
like, no, this is your job. And they're like, but really, because I feel like maybe it's this. And you're like, no.
And so it's a lot of effort. It's a lot. So if I have a lot of board and trains in the house, they don't get as much house time because
you have to be so structured.
And so on. And so I find it easier to take them up to the barn with me and work on structured stuff up there because that I have to, or their life is in danger.
Right.
You know, so it's just them. I don't take my board and trains. If I do, it's still very structured. And so it's really important to, right now, just kind of, we're just on a journey and I'm not sure what that journey is right now.
So a lot of people all the time, like we talk about, our dogs aren't really that trained, right?
Yeah.
We're training everyone else's dogs. And so I'm sure everyone's dying to know, if you feel like your dog's really not that trained, what is important for you that your dogs know how to do to be able to like live in your world and like you not go insane?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't really believe that obedience training is important as much as I feel like the manners of the house, not jumping. What are the rules with being on the furniture, not being on the furniture, being on the bed, not being on the bed, not being in the way, not putting your nose on the counter, not checking to see what's going on, stay out of the bathroom garbage. Settling isn't really important. So I don't right now, they will all eventually be obedience trained in a sense that they are trained dogs. But because I have 3 young working dogs, my goal is for them to get into a rhythm. And the rhythm and the connection comes first to me right now. And so it's more about rules of the house. Don't go bolting out the door. You don't get to go out the gate every time it's open. And definitely the garbage. Amelia's about the bathroom garbage. Caroline's about putting her nose on the counters because she's tall enough now that it's really easy. Yes. And Patsy's about being busy with the cat.
Yeah.
And the thing with Patsy and why she feels so entitled and so important is, one, if the cat can be on the table, she can too. If the cat's under something, she will try and figure out a way how to get under there.
Also, it's her important job to be in charge of this cat.
Absolutely.
Right? Because no one's in charge of it.
No,
obviously,
nobody's in charge.
Obviously, she needs to. And
Right.
that's part of why she's important too.
Yep. So, hers is really like, leave the cat alone. The cat's outside. You don't need to go looking and then looking again, and then we have to double, triple check to make sure that the cat is not in the cat's places so that she can manage the cat. So we have to really, it's really about the manners and the rhythm at our house right now, because it really, like, Patsy will get up on the table because the cat's up on the table. And Patsy, I found, trying to climb the cat post that the cat goes outside on.
Yeah.
Like, she's down there on the second level of the cat post.
To get to the top to watch this cat.
Right.
To monitor the goings in and goings out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's really, right now, it is training. But the obedience will come second to all of this right now. It truly is just, 3 girls. Their females are much more emotional in sassy, I guess. Yeah. More than emotional. They're just sassy and opinionated.
Yeah. They really do have opinions about things. Yeah.
And just trying to have some bit of sanity in the house so I can have my dogs in the house more. It's not like they're outside, like, their life, but, their crate time, their outside time, and their house time. Their house time is the least amount right now.
Right. Well, also because I know I'm bad with my own dogs, that I'm like, oh, just go outside for a minute.
Yeah.
Because they're allowed to be a dog outside.
Right.
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 And I really don't have a lot of rules for my dogs outside. Yeah. Like, don't run out of the gate is like the only
and no
rule.
Barking.
Really. And so I feel sometimes when I feel like they're naughty, I'm like, oh, you just need to be a dog. Just go outside.
Yeah.
For a minute. Right.
Yeah. You go over there and do you, because we can't do us right now.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think, for just as an outside person, I think that's why people love your dogs so much, is because they have such good manners.
Yeah.
Like all of your dogs always have really good manners, and that's why people love them. Yeah. Because they don't feel intimidated. Yeah. Because dogs with bad manners are really intimidating. Right. Right. And I think that is one of the main things that people are always, oh, I love your dog. Oh, can I have your dog? And it's because they really do have these impeccable manners all the time. Yeah. So what do you think is the easiest thing about having all these dogs all at the same age? Because, I mean, we've talked a lot about the hardest thing. Right, but are there any easy things, like, that of them being the same age, or of them all being working? Like, would you rather have all working than a mix of working and non, like I do? Or,
Yeah, it's a good question, Shannon. I think what's the easiest and probably makes the most sense to people, if you understand my life, Chris and I, between the 2 of us, we have 3 kids, and the 2 oldest are Chris's, and then the youngest is mine, and they're all literally a year to a year and a half apart. And so everything that we did in life with them was back to back to back. Like Sydney drove, Riley drove, Cheyenne drove. It was literally like that. And so having the 3 girls, the dogs, it's we get Patsy there, Caroline there, Amelia there. And then you start all over with the next step in their growth.
Mm-hmm.
And so the easy part is you know what's next.
Mm-hmm.
And by the time you get to the third one, for me,
Mm-hmm.
you know, most people think, oh, by the time you get the third one, you don't care.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I've figured it all out. So by the time, you know, we've hit some stuff with Amelia, like I'm already on it before she's doing, you know.
Because you're like expecting
Yeah.
it. Because
Yeah.
it already happened. Yeah.
Right. And so I find that to be kind of the easiest part with it is I'm, you know, you kind of have an old dog that's already trained, and then you have a puppy and you're like, oh,
Yeah. It's
you
a
know,
lot of
right
work.
now,
You forget how
yeah.
much work it is.
yeah. So right now we're just kind of going through it. There's nobody to compare to.
You're right.
There's no golden child right now.
Right.
So it's just easy because it's just a part of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a part of the rhythm of what we're trying to get into with all three of them
Mm-hmm.
because they're all so close in age.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing that I think is easy is they're all so close in age, but like Caroline really, when she's outside, she's laying down either chewing on her bones or sunning herself. Like
Mhm.
she really
Mm-hmm.
like that's her outside
She's into
time is like
relaxing, yeah.
totally about her. Where she doesn't get into what the border collies are doing.
Oh, like their weird busy things
Yeah.
of trying to find
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. You know, Caroline will sit up on the deck and just like watch the
outside.
sky. I mean,
Yeah.
she's just got your nose up and, you
Yeah.
know, she's soaking in all the smells, and Patsy's like, where's the cat? I can smell the cat. Where's the cat? The cat's behind the fence. What's the cat doing? And Amelia is into playing with the toys and throwing them up and rolling on them and doing it. So they can all be their own person still,
Mm-hmm.
but they're all still adolescents.
Yeah, they're figuring out what the full person is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it's really easy being that, where when we had Bora, we didn't get Chianti until he was 2, almost 3.
Mm-hmm.
And so you all of a sudden, all the attention goes on to
New
the
dog.
puppy,
Yeah.
and you're trying to get through it because you have the golden child.
Right.
And then you compare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, why can't you just be good?
Like,
the
he was
other
much
dog?
easier than
Yes.
that, you know.
Yeah.
Where these guys, we don't have anything to compare to right
Mhm.
now. Like, and they're not, and they're so different from any of our dogs that we've had
Mm-hmm.
previously that there's nothing to compare to,
Mm-hmm.
like nothing. Having 3-4 dogs for us isn't very normal,
Mm-hmm.
and so the numbers doesn't really impact anything. So that's
Mhm.
easy for us.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like one dog is harder almost
I don't know.
for me.
I've had one dog for a really, really long
Yeah.
time before. Well, I had several one dogs
Yeah.
before I ever got more. And I think there's easy and hard things
Sure.
about both.
For sure.
Because, like, if you're going somewhere,
Yeah.
it's a lot easier to just take one dog
Yep.
than it is to take 3.
Yep. Yep.
But generally living, like, once you have 3 in your house,
Yeah.
you don't even really notice.
Yeah.
You know,
Yep.
and even like when we're training dogs or if we're watching dogs, like they're in our house, they're part of our
Yeah.
routine and everything like that. And so then I don't notice, like, if another dog is staying with me,
Right.
my dogs
Right.
accept them really well,
Yeah.
and they're just like a part of our routine. And
Yeah.
then we'll have like 4 or 5 dogs here.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh, see, yeah, I could have 5 dogs. And I'm like, no, bad idea. You know,
right,
but
yeah.
it's like, as far as
Yeah.
that standpoint,
Yeah.
like, you don't really notice,
Right.
like when you're at home.
Yeah.
But if you do have 0 dogs and you go to one, and then you have to think about, like, oh, I have to go home and let this dog out
Yes.
to the bathroom.
Yeah, for sure.
If
For
I didn't
sure.
have this one dog, I
Yeah.
could do whatever I want.
Yeah, yeah. And I definitely do not advise that people just go get a bunch of dogs, because it's not easy in that realm whatsoever.
No, well, you have to really be careful about how they fit together.
Yeah.
For one.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
you have to get these dogs that match
Mhm.
and fit together like a weird puzzle of
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
Because if you have dogs that don't fit in your little puzzle,
It can be
it's
hell.
really, really disruptive.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and we've had board and trains that don't fit, and it's very disruptive
Yeah.
across the board,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, I think, you know, it's easy because it's what I know.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy for most people. It's very overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
It sometimes gets overwhelming to Chris and even
Mhm.
the kids, like, you know, we got 3 dogs to load up. We got 3 dogs to do this. We got 3 dogs to feed. We got 3 dogs, you know, it's not
when
just
they're
her.
learning all at the same time.
Yeah.
Like you're really training all 3 dogs all at the same time.
Yeah. So, but for me, that's all I know. So it's pretty easy doing it. So yeah, I think right now we're kind of in just getting into a rhythm, and the manners is the most important with it.
Tell us like your favorite thing about each of them. Like,
yeah, Patsy, she's definitely inside of my soul. She's definitely, brings me deep down inside. There's a peacefulness about Patsy. She definitely will get up on the bed and snuggle with me, which I haven't really had any other dog do that with. Like, she voluntarily, like, she's got this deep connection with me. We haven't connected, but we have a connection. And so my favorite thing about her is just, I feel like it probably has, her previous life as a person, was somebody that was really close to me. If I, if I had to describe that, like, that's how that feels to me with her, our relationship and our friendship there. My favorite thing about Caroline is she's the first dog that I've ever had that has made me laugh more than any other dog. And I don't know what it is about her, but she is very much so makes me happy. Like,
she is funny.
Yeah.
She's a funny dog, and she's very joyful and carefree.
Yeah.
Like your other dogs that I've met have more of a seriousness to them. Yeah. Like, we can have fun, but no, we're really actually serious. Where she's just like, woo!
Yeah. Oh,
this is just so fun. She has like this whimsy to her soul that is just like charming.
Yeah. Yeah. They, the kids asked me today, we were up horse riding, and Patsy gets to come because she understands horse feet. And they asked if Caroline ever got to come up to the horses. And I said, yeah, but I have to be in the right frame of mind, because when we get riding, if we do anything fast on the horses, then Caroline gets the zoomies. And then we all have to stop and let Caroline have the zoomies, because she doesn't know about horse feet. And she doesn't, there's nothing, it's all sporadic. Like, Patsy will run circles because that's what border collies do. And you can ride in circles, and you can, where Caroline is everywhere, and it's the zoomies. And then she'll just lay down randomly, and like, she doesn't know that the horse is coming at her, that she should move, and of course we take, we watch that, but yeah, she definitely is just, she's very whimsical. She's very sporadic. She's very spontaneous. And we laugh a lot. Like, I mean, there was one day that every time Cheyenne started going fast on her horse, Caroline got the zigzag zoomies. And we would just laugh. Like, we would all be there like 5 minutes sitting on our horses
laughing, and
she's zooming through the pastures, and you're just like, okay, you just have to watch her and let it happen, So that's one of my favorite things about her, is she's just genuinely
fun.
Amelia, I don't feel like I've had her long enough to have that we even have a friendship right now. That we're still trying to figure everything out. But one of my favorite things about her is she loves to be held. And she loves to hug. Like, she puts her chin on your shoulder and she just will hug. If I'm sitting outside with the dog, she will come and jump in my lap and just like hug. We hug. And that's, sometimes that's just fun to have that, just that simpleness. And so I think the simpleness of Amelia is going to be, it's my favorite thing right now, and it's going to be her saving grace. I feel like, because her
she's
adrenaline,
very intense other ways.
Yeah. So to have that love, if you will, I think is going to be a great balance once we can put it together. And I think that, one thing that I've said, Patsy and I, the connection we've connected, but the connection isn't there, and that comes with training. I don't know 100% of everything that I'm doing with herding. It's a journey that I'm on, and I'm obviously learning from others, but I'm figuring it out myself, in my own style and the way that, that we train
all other dogs.
Yeah. And so she doesn't 100% believe me when I ask her to do something out in herding. And so, her and I are not completely on the same training page. Yeah. And Amelia, is just really into the adrenaline. So I'm somewhere going to figure that out too. And so when I say, the friendship isn't there or the connection isn't there, it truly is like, there's got to be a trust, and there's got to be a belief in each other. And so that's when I say that, that's what that means. Cause it's just, we're on such a weird journey with the herding, and in very similar places, if you will. So yeah, that's my favorite things.
Oh, do you have anything else you want to say about your family?
It's funny, because people do think that we have, our dogs should be marching orders and being perfect. Because that's what I think everybody envisions that's what's supposed to be. But really what's supposed to be is a rhythm and a connection, and that your dogs are polite and kind. And then secondary is that when you ask your dog to sit or down or stay or walk nice on a leash, to me, that's all secondary. They're elements that you need to have manners but they're not a have to. And so, my advice with people is think about how you live with your dogs. What does that look like? And what's important? Is a down more important than a sit? Is a place command more important?
I think there are certain ones that are really more important. Like at my house, like go in your kennel is like really important.
Yep. Yes.
And so if I'm here and I have friends over or whatever, and I say, go in your kennel, and all my little dogs go, pew, all to their kennels and go right in, then that's when I get, your dogs are so well trained.
Yes.
That's just like the most important thing that I ask my dogs to do every day.
Right. For sure.
I'm not asking them to sit all day, or stuff. So I think you do have this hierarchy of things that are the most important that you ask for every day because you need it. And then that is like how your dog is trained to real life, let's say.
Yes.
Yep.
And all of your dogs know how to sit and sit down, leash wise. They're trained, if you will. But it's more about the journey and having kind and polite dogs and having a rhythm in your household. And then training comes next.